Halo Infinite's development is no secret across the gaming industry, with multiple X343 developers coming out publicly and saying that there was a massive issue when creating and building this game from the ground up, which is the reason why it took around 6 years or so to actually get this game out. Now on the channel we have done many videos in the past going into detail around Halo Infinite's campaign cut content and just what the game was envisioned to be like when it was first thought up and concepted by 343. It's a very successful series on the channel. I'll link the playlist down below if you guys want to go check it out. It's really interesting to see what this game was envisioned to be like from the concept stages going up to, of course, the release of the game. Now, there are multiple reasons as to why Halo Infinite's development didn't go to plan. That can stand from political issues with the management and other members of 343 to the teams essentially just kind of working on different projects and them not actually fitting into the whole vision of what the game was. Go check it out if you're interested in that video. But today we've got something very unexpected that I did want to go into a bit detail and just give a bit of attention to right now. Now, Forbes put out an article earlier on today, and this is really interesting because it's actually an interview with Joe Staten. So of course when Joe Staten joined 343, they would have filled him in with exactly what the plans were. He would have seen the concepts, he would have been able to speak with the designers, the developers around what they envisioned for the game, why it turned out the way that it did, and some of the struggles that they encountered during development in general. So he's going to be pretty clued up with what this game envisioned to be like. And along with that as well, they had an entire year with Joe Staten from 2020 to 2021 when the game released. So a lot was cut and changed within that time period as well, which was interesting and was actually referenced slightly within this article too. But guys, let's jump straight into the article. So I actually want to read from this article. I'll link it down below, of course, so you guys can go check it out for yourself. But the intro to this article really sums up a lot of what we kind of feel like is missing from Halo Infinite. And Paul Tassi does a really good job of explaining that and going into more detail with it. So we are just going to read over what Paul has said at the start and then go into a couple of quotes from Joe Staten himself. So let's go. One of the weirdest aspects of Halo Infinite's campaign for me was the final section, where there's one giant portion of the map still hovering around, and yet when you finally arrive there, you're just given a linear mission or two and that's it. No exploration in what looked like a third major island on the map, and no hope that Halo Infinite would expand beyond its singular biome. Turns out that once upon a time, Halo Infinite did have a much grander scale in mind, but it was slowly slimmed over time. The open world shrunk, many campaign segments were kept linear, and the biomes remained uniformed. This is not some insider talking about rough development. This is 343's Joseph Staten being upfront about how much the game had to be scaled back over time, both before he joined the project and also after. Speaking to the Game Maker's Notebook podcast, he had a lot to say about what the game cut over time. Again, we know this from the cut content videos I've done in the past. We know how much has been cut back. We know there was meant to be multiple biomes, there was meant to be different parts of, say, the Halo as well you could visit and go to. We know there was meant to be some form of crafting thing that was thought up and potentially cut out of the game because it didn't fit. We know there's meant to be wildlife, so many different things that was cut from this game, and yeah, we're going to get a lot of details about it here. Now, here's a couple of quotes from Joe Staten on the development of Halo Infinite. The team went through a lot of iterations on scope and biome variety before I joined. Even after I joined the team, we had to make choices about where to scale back. We didn't end up cutting that much ultimately from the open world, but I know from the original designs there was a pretty significant scale back of what the team had hoped at one point that they would deliver on. We knew that we needed to truly deliver a quality experience and scope our ambitions to make sure that the stuff that we did ship met expectations. And this is one of the things that we've spoken about many times on our cut content series here, that there was a lot of things cut back just to try and polish other things. So say Halo could have had 3 or 4 different types of biomes, but all of those biomes could have took way longer to polish and make perfect rather than just the one singular biome, which also meant that other parts of the game probably didn't get the attention they deserved either, which meant that they would also suffer just because of the teams wanted to add multiple biomes. They can rather have loads of biomes, loads of things, and have a overall less polished game, or remove some of the things that felt like they could scale back on and then polish the things that are already in the game, which is exactly what they've done. And to be fair, they did a really good job of that. Now, there was a story I'd heard quite a while ago now saying that Joe Staten was saying that the 343 team were toying with a crafting system. Now, Joe actually talks about it in this article, and it's very interesting to see how this was trying to be thought up. There's a lot of things I've got to say about this, but I want to read it out to you guys first to see what you guys think. We talked a lot about crafting, for example, and my infamous line to the team was something like, the Master Chief doesn't need to kill animals to make leather shirts for himself. He's a massive armoured super soldier. If he wants something, he goes and kills it, grabs the gun, and then keeps going. Look, I don't necessarily agree with them completely neglecting a crafting system. I agree with Joe in the sense that Halo isn't like, yes, we've got to try and get some leather to create a shirt or something like that. I don't agree with that. That's not Halo, of course. But there are different sides to crafting that could have really suited this game well, like crafting different weapon attachments or collecting minerals or materials along the way, or some form of currency to be able to further amend your armor. You could go on to amend your overall weapon statistics like damage and things like that. You can do those sorts of things involving crafting rather than having to physically make something. I think that would have really suited Halo Infinite's open world aspect as well, giving you something to want to go and try and max out, give you a reason to want to explore these caves that are around the map or something like that. I think other parts of crafting would have suited this game very well. Yes, of course, making like leather armor like Minecraft obviously wouldn't suit this game, or creating pickaxes or things like that. But upgrades. Imagine being able to find a certain amount of currency within Halo Infinite's campaign, and you can go to the FOB where you can go and purchase and upgrade different things. What if there was an option for you to upgrade your current armor to Halo Combat Evolved's armor, or the Halo 2 armor, or the Halo 3 armor, or even have it to a point where you can actually customize it so much that you can make your own Spartan if you really wanted to. Yes, it might not be canon, but it's something you can do, and fun is sometimes better than sticking to the canon, you know? Like having 4 chiefs. I would prefer to have my Spartans and made that little less canon, you know? It is what it is. Sometimes you've just got to think, is this going to be fun? What will make the player engaged, and what's going to bring the player back to want to play more? And having this system where you could craft, imagine being able to craft the Combat Evolved armor and have that because you've collected the right amount of currency to do it, or materials, or whatever it might be, and you've been able to do that, and you can have hidden bits of lore within the descriptions of that armor and things like that. That would be really cool. Unfortunately, that didn't come to be. The rest of the article is essentially just Paul going into detail saying that, you know, when are we going to see the next DLC? Is there going to be a 5 to 6 year gap between stories and things like that with the campaign DLC? I really hope not. But yeah, other than that, guys, that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about in today's video, to be quite honest. There's not really too much, but it just reiterates really that 343 had a really tough time with this game. They had to cut back a lot of things. This game, if they had a smooth development, would have been completely different to what we'd seen now. There would have been less linear campaign missions. We've had a lot of additional missions potentially, and different RPG elements in the game, which I think would have been really cool. Not to mention like a ranking system and things like that as well, we would have had along with Forge and stuff too. But yeah, the story of Halo Infinite, unfortunately. But let me know, guys, down below in the comments what you think of this article. Leave it down below, so go check it out if you want to have a read of it. It's really, really good. Shout out to Paul Tassi, of course, for writing it too. And yeah, leave a like if you enjoyed. We'll speak to you all in the next one.